In this video, we are going to continue to show you the evidence to demonstrate that man is not one species, but instead man is three species. The evidence that I will show you is truly groundbreaking, and it provides insight into the behaviours of human beings that have never been observed before. So far, we have shown you that the view that man is three species is a very unique view, and it is currently not held or identified by any other source currently alive today or having ever existed. We have established the evidence to support the current scientific viewpoint that man is one species is, without question, very poor. Scientists have failed to detect the moment of evolution in any species, let alone in humans. Similarly, science has fragmented into a multitude of disciplines because of its failure to define who are we. You may ask why this is important for humankind, and the answer to this is that the implications are huge. If the viewpoint that man is three species is correct, then all three species are distinctly different in their diet, their medicinal needs, their education and learning, their reasoning, their behaviour, their sexual preferences, their crimes, and so on and so on. So, for example, whilst one species may depend on an omnivorous diet, that is, plants and animals, another may require solely a fruit-based diet. If the wrong diet is advised, then the consequences are considerable. Hence, this is redefining for man. A one-fit-for-all approach to humans in all aspects of our social sphere is inadequate and verging on derisory. I am Mr. Cup, my name is Gregory Hayward. This is a very important name. Right now, we must continue to reset the human compass. In the wild environments of our world, there exists a group of animals who are referred to as the great apes. These include the orangutan, the gorilla, the common chimpanzee, and the bonobo chimpanzee. In part 2, we established that each of these different types of ape species have different combinations of traits. Hence, 4 traits were observed: individual, robust, gregarious, and sensitive, and each breed of ape was shown to have a unique combination of 2 of these traits. Furthermore, each combination was different in one breed as opposed to another. The question now being asked is whether these observations apply to humans. Intuitive human perception has always resolved that we are separated from apes because they are less sophisticated than we are. For example, in language and in intelligence. Indeed, humans would find it difficult to accept that they exhibit the savage, impoverished and wild nature of our apes. It is certainly much easier for us to believe that apes are a distinct relative, and we are comfortable with this. The current theory of evolution even supports our secure position because intellectually this appeals to our intuitive common sense. However, human intuition and security should not be barriers to truth. The first thing to note from the trait analysis that has been observed is that, if it does apply to humans, this does vary considerably from mainstream anthropology and its related scientific disciplines. In the latter, much of the evolutionary theory has been based predominantly on ancestral observations of tool usage, diet, and habitat. However, the observations given above do clearly illustrate that each of the ape species can be characterized by 2 dominant traits from a selection of 4. Additionally, each breed of the great apes demonstrates a different combination of traits. We can certainly agree that humans do display the characteristics of these 4 traits, namely robust, individual, sensitive, and gregarious, and that these are known attributes of human behaviour. However, to break new ground, the compulsive view here is that these traits are more significant to human behaviour than previously assumed, and that these traits are more dominant in some humans than in others. Each human can have different combinations of each of these traits. Similarly, It is more than feasible to argue that each trait will vary by degree or amount in each person. In a sense, each human has his own set of thermometers in which the levels vary. In each human, the levels will be different to those of another. Thus, it is more than likely that each human has two dominant traits. This combination would then manifest in making each person conform to a specific type. Essentially, a series of different types would exist in which each type would conform to a specific combination of two traits. What has therefore emerged is the following. The human species has 4 dominant traits. Different combinations of these traits are likely in each human. Each human is likely to have 2 dominant traits and 2 dormant traits. A combination of 2 traits in each human from a potential of 4 traits would result in 4 different types or species. Both traits and types do exist in humans, and specific combinations of the traits will result in 4 species as opposed to 1. One interesting feature of these traits is that they create opposites, and therefore the combinations are limited to 4 types. For example, being individual is the opposite of being gregarious. Hence, we see in the orangutan that they exhibit a high degree of individual behaviour, but little, if any, gregarious characteristics. Similarly, being robust is the opposite of being sensitive. Hence, it would therefore follow that all humans have 2 main traits and 2 dormant. Different combinations of these traits exist to determine a specific set of human types, or more accurately, species. You may ask yourself why this has failed to be observed before, and there are a number of reasons. Firstly, we have been distracted by Darwin's theory of evolution. Darwin never actually claimed that man descended from the apes, but his theory on the descent of man led to this hypothesis. However, the theory of evolution is still not backed up by any evidence. It only remains to be a theoretical possibility, that is, a best guess, and in this sense it conforms to science. Hence, the empire of science provides the theory of evolution with its credibility. However, this does not mean that it passes the test of truth. And as the National Academy of Science states, truth in science, however, is never final, and what is accepted as a fact today may be modified or even discarded tomorrow. Secondly, the constituent parts of each trait are highly extensive, and when more than one trait is added into the equation, the complexity becomes extreme. Hence, the whole picture becomes too complicated to fathom, and the potential application to empirical study is overwhelming. Take, for example, the number of variables that can be associated with each of the 4 traits. Each trait has an extensive list of characteristics. The characteristics given in this table illustrates the complexity of the constituent parts of each trait, and how the whole picture becomes considerably more complicated. However, I'm arguing that this is the truth. Human nature is complicated. 8 billion people inhabit the earth today, and the likelihood is that there are 8 billion different combinations. This may seem odd when we consider that there are only 4 different traits. However, think of each trait as a thermometer, and this thermometer is filled to a different level in each person. In other words, a person with an individual trait may display idiosyncratic characteristics, but their level of idiosyncratic behaviour is much higher than the same behaviour that is exhibited by another person with the individual trait. Hence, if the level of filling thermometers varies considerably between people, even in the same species, then the picture becomes increasingly more complex when further species are added. The effect of the various thermometers quickly results in a significant multiplier. The number of characteristics in human traits quickly runs into the hundreds. This in itself can help to explain that if common denominators are not found, finding the answer to who are we is not only elusive but highly unlikely. It is therefore not surprising that the definitions of humans has remained indefinable for so long. However, as we will see in the next episode, while the definition of humans may have eluded us so far, the evidence that has been gleaned from the study of apes begins to present an ever more compelling argument. In episode 4, we are about to witness the behaviour that we see in our ape relatives has resounding implications for human beings. The only language I speak is the truth. There is much to say. Keep watching Mr. Cup.